Peace and greetings, everybody. Cinco de Mayo. Hope y'all having a good Tuesday. NPCs, right? They're necessary. Blanket terms such as woke, awakening, you know what I'm saying? Consciousness, right? These are not bad words, but the ancients understood something. Alright? The ancients understood that, and when I say ancients, I mean any priest class, right? Higher beings. Some people in history would call them ascended masters, but that's beside the point. Any priesthood, which in the modern world is truly awakened people, understood the negativity of saturation. I ain't talking about, when you're producing music tracks and you have a saturator, or when you just lather your pancakes in butter that's super saturated. I'm not talking about that. Saturation simply means, for this visual instance, how many people are upon something. Alright? So if I have a very rare diamond and I throw it into a crowd of 12 people, that diamond's value, just based on that formula alone, it goes down. You know what I'm saying? But if I understand its properties and the subtleties of it and all the scientific benefits of that item, then it holds its more sacred substance, as it were. How the hell does this relate to NPCs? Well, the glory behind that revelation is NPCs aren't here to stop you. Here to slow you down. It's a huge difference. So non-playable characters, the masses, however you want to term it, they're here to slow your progress down. Alright? But you have the ultimate leverage over the accelerator to your own purpose. Whatever level you want to apply that to, whatever aspect of your purpose that is. Okay? So if you're here to be an excellent singer, you might have a parent that never recognizes your voice. You know what I'm saying? Like routinely. Doesn't always work that way, but that's just a mere example. Right? If you were here to create a business trend that'll still be valid and applicable 3 generations from now, you may have an environment that tells you the only thing that matters in life is sports, and all you got to do is keep playing another down or score another basket or hit another home run, whatever it may be, right? So there's these pre-existing circumstances that you're placed into. The glory behind non-playable characters is they can never be you. And the whole nexus of a chosen person, a person meant for big things, the whole essence of it is knowing that what you're going to get done, it's going to get done. But you have to essentially get down with the energies that will be misunderstood, right? A certain religious figure in antiquity, did he always hang around, the priests and, let's just say the rich people or the upper class? Nah. You would find him hanging out shooting dice on the corner. You would find him with the prostitutes. You would find him amongst people whose spirits would appear dimmed. That's a key aspect of activating your purpose. When you can be in the company of people, you may even find comfort in it after a while, whose spirits appear dimmed, or NPCs would look at them and not see anything, whereas you still assign value to them in some scope. It's a dangerous game though, because what often happens with very enlightened people is they dwarf their own potential and the light, because it's more comfortable to chill. Like I just explained, it's more comfortable to chill with people who won't bring any resentment or any type of resistance to your light. You know what I'm saying? So that's the true formula of a battle for somebody who's just built different. You know what I'm saying? All of these terms, Starseed, Awakened One, The Chosen, 144, God's, all this stuff, it alludes to the same property of being. You got to look at it scientifically and not look at it so egoic, right? Like I could look in this screen at my physical presentation and say I'm an extremely handsome man, and because of that, I'm meant to rule over all these people. That's not necessarily true. But my purpose is supposed to align with the energy that I bring through my look, my presence, my words, and my overall emanations. You feel me? So a lot of people, it's like that saying where people say everybody's got something. We're not talking about a car note or some bullshit like that of, simpleton world. We're talking about like everybody has a deep mountain to climb every day, right? We've all heard the example, You're, let's say you're a beautiful woman or whatever, very nice features. Every woman, probably 8 out of 10 would want to look like you, but there's something about you that people don't know that you struggle with every day. It could be minor, it could be a little more serious, or you're a charismatic man, but you endured trauma early in your life to where your trust issues overrule your ability to let your guard down. So that's a battle you have. But to the average NPC, again, to slow you down, he can't stop your looks. She can't hate on you to the point where you don't look good anymore. However, it will slow down your reclamation of that beauty, which is used to harmonize with what you're here to do. You see what I'm saying? So there's really no way for you to lose, but the NPCs give you leverage over the mission at hand. And NPC is not limited to, the stranger at the gas station. And that's where the eerie side of this awakening comes in. Is because NPCs start to reveal themselves as members of your intimate circle, perhaps even your own blood. Doesn't make them evil, doesn't make them bad. But the sooner you recognize that, it'll be easier to, as we'll say it here, play the game that's in front of you, right? Participate in the lane that's unfolding right in front of you. But see, when you got all this past baggage, I'm not going to use the word heal because I feel like healing is a continuous thing, particularly if you've overcome things that many people can't. Healing is not just you walk out of the office and you eat a lollipop or you go drink somewhere. That's not authentic healing, right? So it's really natural to come to despise NPCs. And maybe on an internal, energetic level, it's good because you're setting a boundary with yourself by way of recognition. You know what I'm saying? It's not good to... That's where the Poor Righteous Teacher program comes in. Where you feel that money is evil, wealth is evil, structure is boring. You know what I'm saying? Rich people or people who are well off must be part of some group or part of some evil conspiracy. That's where all these thoughts get invited in when you're thinking that righteous is synonymous with impoverished, right? Or poverty is synonymous with a real nigga or a real person because I've seen the struggle. There's all a manner of struggles. You got people right now of all races that have been through unspeakable trauma, but their outside life, is so gilded that you would call them privileged, spoiled, ain't have to work for nothing. Putting all these narratives onto somebody because you're insecure about what they're presenting. Meanwhile, a person who might be well off, who hasn't had much exposure to the outside world, they may look at a person who appears, before I go on, and appearance is very important, you know. But again, most of us go through this phase where you may even start to disconnect from materials, right? You may, meaning like expensive designer stuff, you know what I'm talking about. You may start to actually loathe the aspect of, I didn't say not looking fresh or presentable. I ain't talking about that. I'm just saying the whole industry of just looking like something you're not. You may start to really develop a hatred for that, right? But back to what I was saying about, you know, this different sides of the tracks program, right? You got the person with limited resources hating on the person in the suburbs. You got the person in the suburbs looking down on said poor person. You know what I'm saying? And that's usually one of the first hurdles you gotta break. And as someone who has experienced both, neither one is really better. You know, you can take the whole logic behind, oh, I guess being broke is better because you don't have all that. It really depends on you. But NPCs have a job. You know, they're non-playable, but they still have a job. You as the main character or main kind of arrow in your own story, you got to understand they're not there to win, right? This is the seed of all of our blockages. You know, you have an emotional outburst. And if you're truly a spiritual person, it takes you days to recover from that. You have this stream, this flurry of just, what do they call it? Imposter syndrome thoughts. All these things. Those are agents of the NPC grid, if you will. You know what I'm saying? When you start to feel that stuff, you have to find a way to ground yourself and remind yourself that that's not you. That's often not you. And this type of rhythm transcends things like the gym and running and meditation. Sure, those are cool, but we're talking about a recalibration of mindset. You know? So back to my initial example before I let you guys go. If you were meant to be the next Luther Vandross, right, or a just perennial, masterful level vocalist, but you always had a parent to plant the seed that, oh, you ain't gonna make no money with music, you ain't gonna do that shit, you know, just negative Nancy, all kinds of shit. Your goal is not to say that person's evil. Your goal is to stay true to what you know you're here to do. And when the level shifts, or when the foundation shifts, because that's what time does, nothing stays the same. When the foundation shifts, you'll be able to answer that call. There'll probably be, this is just an example, you can apply it any way you want. There might be arguments, there may be disagreements. And of course, naturally, as you age, you'll find more eloquent ways to do what the hell you want to do and know that you're good at, and not compare or essentially try to blend it in with, you know, bullshit expectations, which at one point were probably created to keep you safe. That's what you gotta remember about NPC. See, NPC gets this dark implication, right? NPCs are going to try to maintain previous programs. It's almost like asking, like some people have this theory that, you know, at some point in nature, animals didn't run from humans, right? We can't prove that today, but some Native American elders and other cultures say at one point with the energetic grid on the, stay with me, on the planet, animals and humans had a much more intimate link. Some even say they could communicate. That's probably true. I'm using that to say you're not meant to like combat these people. And we're no longer in the time where you can just reach out and just sense things like the way our ancestors did, no matter where you're from. So NPCs aren't here to delete your mission. You know what I'm saying? But if I sprint full speed or even approach a deer, and let's say it's some, leaves or twigs, something to generate a little noise, the deer's instinct these days is to run away, right? You can't, I can't sit there and cuss the deer out. One, it's not gonna hear me, and two, it's a natural reaction. Why does it run? It wants to live. Why do NPCs resurrect or fail to go with the flow when it comes to these old programs? Because they want the programs to live. It's no different than an animal that has been so programmed by fear that it's like, fuck that. I don't care if you're some empathic nature level that's gonna feed me some grain. I'm gonna get my ass out of here. You know what I'm saying? So, but I know it's easy. It's easy to, it's like in all the great movies with heroes when they do the flashbacks and they show the quotes that certain characters said. They show you how people, might have been moving one way the whole time, but you didn't peep it because you weren't listening or because you maybe are perhaps naive. That's where the anger comes from. And if you're like me, you hate wasting time, and you're thinking all these years, I'm talking even 2-3 years, you see that as like maybe 10 years because you're so intent, you're so focused on being the best that you can be. But you gotta let that anger go, and I'm talking to myself as well. Because if you stay in that, you're actually calling in the program that said NPC or plural is trying to project back onto you. So the longer you can hold on, I know that's so cliche, especially in the church realm, the longer you can hold on and find frequent ways to expel that anger, that resentment, that invitation to say, I should never wasted my time with niggas like y'all ain't never gonna understand me. Y'all don't know half the talent, like all that kind of Hollywood black anger shit. You gotta find a way to expel them. And again, fitness and all your practices and candles, that's cool, but you can't make that just a novelty. You can't make that just like, I seen it on TikTok, so we're just gonna put some honey by the door and do a ritual. That's why a lot of people's lives are fucked up, because they're doing, excuse my language, people have used the internet for just like, there's a difference between knowledge and information, right? And people think that information is just going to instantly work for them. They don't do any kind of prep. They don't do no kind of anything. They just do it, and especially now with this whole, I'm melanated so I can do it and nothing's going to happen to me. I don't know why y'all are stuck in that concept. As if, there was no effed up melanated people throughout history. As if some of our actions in history didn't have nothing to do with our situation. You know what I'm saying? But most people will never understand that aspect because it's so comfortable to just preach about, love and the people and we're the original people and all this shit, but you don't take into account if you're the original and first to everything, that means everything great. Mathematician, scientist, alchemist, musician, inventor, scroll writer, builder, all these things you treasure. You also got to jump to the other side and say murder, damn, in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like all these terms that we put on another group, who they learn it from. We don't talk about that part because it's uncomfortable, and it's not our fault because history is not taught. I'll just say in a 11 formation, right? History is not taught like that. History is taught that this happened because this happened because this happened because this happened because this happened. And if you happen just to have a very understandable question in there, it's usually some filler answer. Oh, well, that's probably what it was. Oh, they probably didn't want to get too cold. Oh, they probably thought the Indians were going to come back. Oh, they probably thought the white man was, like, it's always this, yeah, who cares? This is the story we're talking about. NPC stuff, right? So again, this is what I'll leave you with. NPC is nothing more than an environment that can't shift. Alright? Remember back in 1999 when we all first saw, well, that's when it came out anyway. We first saw Neo and he touched that mirror, right? And Morpheus started kind of spitting his wisdom and basically saying, like, you ever thought, like, what if all of this was a big ass dream and you're basically the one or the Neo rotating through all of this stimuli? And you've been trained to react to, the NPC aspect and the environment that, what I'm saying, gasses them up, keeps them healthy. But if you stop reacting and understand it for what it is, which is way easier said than done. Because if you have passion and a temper and you're smart, it's damn near, your ego has to take, like, all kinds of bullets for you to understand how they're actually not the enemy. And it's going to become evident, like, it's almost backwards. It's like the more things you say, they'll go out of their way to say something that doesn't align with you. You know what I'm saying? Or you might be having a conversation with them and they disagree with you and then some shit happen on their end. That's how you know you're on the right track. Now, I'm not saying wish bad on people. But it's almost like the silent smile to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because what that means is that that person projected something onto you, and because you didn't take it on and say, well, why do I have to do that? That's not how I am. See? I've already left the gate open. But if I deflect it and just speak what's on my mind, keep it brief, that's another art form that we'll get into. Keeping things brief. You 48 laws people out there know, I think in the book it's called Never Saying More Than Necessary. That's a very important rule, but I'm going to end it there. Cinco de Mayo, as I said, conveniently enough, is Taco Tuesday as well. I hope y'all indulge in that. I plan to. I will see y'all very shortly.